Hello, good evening, and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics, live on Trust TV, your home for everything politics, policy, and governance. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight on the program, we delve into the upcoming National Youth Conference proposed by the Tinubu administration. While some see it as a distraction from pressing national issues, others believe it could address the long-standing marginalization of Nigeria's youth, who are the backbone of the nation's productivity. This initiative comes at a time when young Nigerians are demanding better governance and relief from harsh economic conditions. The government had previously set up a committee to review the 2019 to 2023 National Youth Policy, but with no recommendations yet, there are concerns about the sincerity of this new initiative by the Tinubu administration. Well, join us on the program to dimension these issues. Our youth leaders, Dr. Victor Kwambuge and Abduljabbar Rufa'i, will be joining us shortly. They're both vocal advocates for the nation's youth. Good evening to you, Doctor, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much, Ahmed.
Yeah, it does appear that the president has struck a chord with his Independence Day message for the right and wrong reasons, because it is a message that has polarized viewpoints. But one particular issue stands out of that, and that is the proposed 30-day National Youth Conference. How do you receive that message?
Okay, thank you very much, Ahmed, and good evening to you. The announcement for the National Youth Conference was actually received and greeted by a lot of mixed feelings around the country. Mixed feelings because in as much as some people actually saw that as a very beautiful opportunity for engagement, some people actually see it as a very big distraction to the myriads of issues that is bedeviling us as a people. When I say some people actually see it as an opportunity for engagement, you know very well that the importance or the relevance of the youthful demography in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. The youth actually constitute more than 70% of our population today. In fact, I read somewhere that we have the largest percentage of youth population anywhere in the world. So that simply means that the engagement, any kind of engagement that you wish to have with the youth will actually be something that will be of national significance. But again, I am concerned about two things. One, I'm concerned about the timing of this whole arrangement, and secondly, I'm concerned about the philosophy.
What is wrong with the timing?
Timing because so many things have actually, so many events have actually happened that actually called for the attention of the government to really pay attention to this youthful population. For example, you know, when this administration, talking about the administration of Ahmed Tinubu, removed fuel subsidy, we actually saw a lot of people, you know, expressing a lot of dissatisfaction with the whole thing. Many people talking about protest and what have you. I expected that at that time the government should have made an approach for an engagement with the largest population of our, with the largest demography of our population, talking about the youth. Secondly, we had this end bad governance protest, which was between 1st of August to 10th of August. I was thinking that at the heart of that protest, there should have been an initiative, or there should have been an approach from the government to attempt to sit down with with this very important part of our population to see how we can discuss. But throughout this period, that never happened. And 1st of October, Independence Day speech, honestly speaking, as a development person, the least thing I expected in terms of a solution to the myriads of problems we have is the proposal to hold a National Youth Conference. Not as if the National Youth Conference is bad. Like I said, engagement is very good. Engagement is very important. It's a very good initiative to take at this point in time. But at the same time, actually, the myriads of issues that we have as a people actually call for a solution that is bigger than saying that you are organizing a 30-day event.
Yeah, the president, in the build-up to announcing this proposed National Youth Conference, did itemize a variety of programs that he says his administration has either initiated or has doubled down on to cater to the young demography, which is the Nigerian youths. For instance, he talked about the National Youth Empowerment Fund, domiciled in the Bank of Industry. He talked about the NEL Fund, which is the student loan scheme. He talked about a variety of issues where a variety of programs where the initiatives are targeting empowering youths, giving them access to capital, giving them access to skill acquisition so that they can make something of themselves. Do you think that that is not enough sign to show that the Tinubu administration is actually trying to do something to not just appease young Nigerians, but also to put them on a path towards success?
Right from the inception of this very administration, sometime in May last year, I have actually been curious to see what is the direction of this administration towards youth empowerment. When the administration was inaugurated, policies started coming up here and there. I was actually curious to see what does this administration have in stock for the youthful population. And to be honest, I cannot really point my hands on any kind of an idea that is coming targeted towards the Nigerian youth. And if maybe, I talked about timing earlier on. 1 year, 6 months into the administration, now we are saying that, okay, we want to have the National Youth Conference. I don't know the kind of needs assessment that was conducted prior to this very initiative, but let us even assume that the government really want to engage with the youth. Let us even assume that the government really want to listen to the plight of the youth. I am curious to see how this National Youth Conference is going to address the tripartite problems that is affecting the Nigerian youth today. First, talking about the issue of unemployment that is really biting hard on the Nigerian youth. Secondly, talking about the limited educational opportunities that we have in the country, whereby an average youth at the age of 30, at the age of 35, somebody is still struggling to gain admission into institution, and even the few that are able to gain admission and that are able to graduate, finish their NYC, they have little or no direction whatsoever about what the next step for them is going to be. These are critical issues that the government really need to pay attention to. And these are the things that I hope and I expect that if the National Youth Conference is to hold for 30 days, I don't know why 30 days anyway, but if it is going to hold within that 30 days, I expect to see practical solutions that can be able to be brought to the fore, that can be able to address some of these critical issues that affect the Nigerian youth.
All right, we're going to take a moment's breather. In a moment or two, Abduljabbar will be joining us shortly, but Daily Politics continues in just a moment. Join us again. All right, welcome back to the program. You're watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. We're back to double down on the conversation around the planned National Youth Conference as announced by President Ahmed Tinubu in this year's anniversary speech to the nation, where he says his administration is trying to cater to the youth by giving them an opportunity to discuss their own problems and prefer solutions, which he says the administration is going to take into consideration as it continues to implement or execute its renewed hope agenda. So, the National Youth Conference, will this be the game changer or more of the same lip service or talk shop that Nigeria has become rather accustomed to? Join the conversation at this hour is Abduljabbar Rufa'i. He's also youth advocate, as advertised earlier. He's joining the conversation at this hour. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you. Let me get your initial thoughts on what this conference is supposed to achieve and what it represents. Do you see this as a game changer, or this more of the same scenario playing over again?
Well, I see it as a very commendable initiative by Mr. President, and it goes a long way to show that Mr. President, Senator Ahmed Tinubu, really hears the plight of Nigerians. And I'm sure you can remember recently we had the protest, the End Bad Governance protest, and I believe this is one of the outcomes of the protest. I believe since the protest where youth came out to the streets to, protest against bad governance, I see this as one of the solutions that the protests have brought to, that the president sees as one of the solutions.
So you think this is a fallout of the presidency saying, let's do something?
You.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you've perhaps heard the criticism saying that he's trying to take the wind out of the sail of this movement that is likely threatening the political life of his administration, that at the end of the day this is going to be yet another jamboree, nothing is going to come out of it. Why do you have this optimistic view about what this could do?
Well, I recently, before coming here, I had someone talking about implementation, which is one of the basic problems we have in Nigeria. We have the ideas, we have everything in place, but the problem is implementation. And implementation comes down to not only the government, it comes down to everyone, actually. It comes down to streets, it comes down to, you know, households and so on. So I believe implementation is the key, and as long as everyone is going to put all their hands on the neck to work things out, I believe I'm very, very optimistic.
And some say the president is just trying to play politics, because if he has the youth for 30 days, if a good number of them honor this invitation, there's a very good chance the protest will die down, and that is his end game.
Okay.
Do you agree or disagree with that position?
No, I think I would have to disagree, because now that you talk about politics, I don't think now it's time for politics. I am a card-carrying member of the People's Democratic Party, but ironically, I really support the president at this time, because we are far away from politics, and there is time before 2027. I believe there is a lot to be achieved before 2027. So it is time for governance now. So, and we have to, you know, like I said earlier, put all our hands on the neck to see how we are going to support the president in whatsoever way he sees as a solution to the basic problems we have, like unemployment, you know, like economic issues we have, and so on.
Yeah, and speaking of unemployment, Dr. Kwambuge, Nigerian youths are dealing with quite a lot. Youth unemployment rate is at over 9% right now, and it continues to grow. In light of the current economic situation in the country, things are quite deplorable, to say the very least, not just for unemployed youth, but for millions of households across the country. How do you see this idea aligning with the reforms that the government says it is trying to carry out, so that it can course correct the trajectory of this country?
Okay, if you are asking me about the correlation between the proposed National Youth Conference and the menace of unemployment in Nigeria, I will struggle to provide any answer, because a group of people are unemployed. What they require is not a conference. What they require is practical steps to provide them with something to do. I agree with you that we have a very large population of unemployed youth. We have a serious human capital problem in Nigeria, whereby people that are qualified and are able and are ready to work are not able to find a suitable paid employment. We have that problem in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, the statistics you quote, it may come from the National Bureau for Statistics, etc. But the reality on ground is that unemployment rate in Nigeria is really alarming. It's alarming because when you go out to the streets, go out to your neighborhood, go out everywhere, you see that 1 out of every 3 youths, in fact 1 out of every 2 are people that are, it's either they are in the labor market or they are not comfortable where they work. So these are critical issues that affect the Nigerian youth. And if the national conference is the solution that the current administration will think about as a response to that, then I will have a serious problem with that. But if, like he said, if maybe because of the end bad governance protest, maybe because of what people have agitated, people have said that the government doesn't listen to the young people, you need to listen more, and maybe this is now a response to it, that okay, we are providing you with a platform for you to air out your grievances, and we are ready to listen, we are ready to champion a course of progress together with you, then I would say maybe this is the way to go. But if it is to address the critical issues affecting the Nigerian youth, I think I'm one of the most pessimistic people as far as this.
And is that pessimism born out of dissatisfaction, disappointment from past experiences, or are you just skeptical about the Tinubu administration's intentions?
Well, I do not want to maybe draw a blanket assessment on the whole administration, because this is an administration that is supposed to last for 4 years. We are just 1 year, 6 months into the administration. Fine, it is a significant time for us to make any kind of a pre-assessment, but it is too early for anybody to say the administration have succeeded or the administration have failed. But as far as youth empowerment is concerned, like I said earlier, and I'm still maintaining my position, I have not really seen a practical step taken by the government in terms of policy or in terms of any kind of idea that is being hatched in the pipeline for them to address the critical issues.
I don't think the student loan scheme is a good enough indication that the presidency or this administration means well for Nigerian youths.
I don't really know where we are as far as the student loan scheme is concerned. Sometimes I had the minister, I had some people, coming on air to provide some clarification about the student loan scheme. If you ask me today, how do they even intend to implement that loan scheme? It's something that I do not have clear answers to. But again, let me also borrow from the question that you asked about the political aspect of it. If this whole idea has elements of politics in it, I also feel that this is a very wrong step to take at the right time. Wrong step because 2027 is coming and it's going to be another electionary year that is going to be a serious decider for the destiny of this country. It was Frantz Fanon in his book, The Wretched of the Earth, said every generation must discover a mission. They either fulfill it or betray it. Now, in 2027, we are going to have a new set of voters that will be at the polling unit. When I say new set of voters, I mean that anybody that was born in 1999 would have been maybe 25 years old by 2027. Any youth that was born in 2007 would have been 20 years old by 2027. As a matter of fact, any youth that was born in 2009, as recent as 2009, would have been maybe 17, 18 years old, and these people will be eligible to vote. Now, what is the problem here? Those people do not have the kind of history that you know, the kind of history I know, or the kind of history he knows. We know about the Civil War, we know about the role of Abdul Salams, the Babangidas, the Gawans, etc. The people you refer to today as the Gen Z generation, they have little or no idea about this kind of history. So that simply means that what is going to guide their decision making for them to decide who to vote for in 2027 is not going to be about all those kind of issues that we are discussing. It is going to be about the reality they are seeing. And what are the realities? Realities of the level of poverty level in the country, reality of the fact that they cannot even go to their universities and have one session of uninterrupted academic flow. The reality of the fact that when they graduate from school, they have no idea about which industry is ready to equip to receive them. They have no idea of the fact that where do they even go. Our healthcare system is in comatose, power supply. So most of the problems are happening like that. And again, when you also observe the trajectory of our problems, yes, on Monday, Tuesday was 1st of October, right? We marked 64 years of independence. From 1999 till date, in fact, even from independence till date, our political climate has always been dominated by one set of people. I'm a PhD holder in political science, for example. From the time I started studying government as an SS1 student, or even social studies as a JSS1 student, there are particular names that continue to dominate my textbooks. And today that I even have a PhD, these are the same names that I still see on my television screen. And the youth are becoming agitated, the youth are becoming tired, the youth are asking themselves critical questions. When is it going to be our turn? And these are some of the remote and the immediate issues that are causing some of these agitations that we have. And if the youth conference, I hope that it is part of the objective, maybe for us to even conduct an assessment, an honest assessment about the kind of politics and governance that we are practicing in Nigeria. And for us to even listen to the youth, okay, what are the issues and how can we be able to address your problems so that you can become stakeholders in this business of governance rather than the passive passengers that they are currently.
Right. And let me bring the question back to you, just to piggyback off of what he just said about the political domineering figure of the political elites. I know the youths are the engine room of the politics in the country. However, the people that sit at the top of the pyramid have been at the top of the pyramid for a very long time. A lot of people, I would have said that they have overstayed their welcome. But in talking about the marginalization of young Nigerians, whether it's in government or in politics, people say this is one of two things. Either the Tinubu administration is trying to engender inclusivity, or is trying to enhance the tradition of tokenism, to just pretend like the youths are part of the system by giving them this national conference. Where do you stand on this conference being a game changer to give Nigerian youths a sense of belonging in not just this administration but in the country that they're going to be a part of for generations to come?
You know, I always say this: if this administration, the Tinubu administration, is to be rated by a credible poll, I think the administration is going to be, the rating is going to be very low. Why? Because of the current economic situation, because of the security situation, because of the reality we face day in, day out as days go by. But this conference that has been brought by the president, I think it is something that is laudable, if you ask me again. I believe it is a very good initiative that the youths are given an opportunity, to voice out their concerns and to voice out their plights as citizens of Nigeria.
Yeah. And in talking about what kind of the pool of youths that you expect to be a part of, you just said it, you're a card-carrying member of the PDP. If you are extended an invitation, will you be attending?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And do you worry that the administration could utilize this opportunity to gather not just the data of their political opponents? Because, I mean, if you are of the PDP and you attend this particular conference for 30 days, there's a very good chance that the APC might try to steal you away from under the umbrella of the PDP. Do you not worry about this being a recruiting ground for the Tinubu administration to add to the pool of youth that they already have in their camp?
I think the PDP also have a good chance in doing that as well. I believe this is, like I said earlier, it's not about politics anymore. This is about governance. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not say APC Youth Conference or APC Youth Forum. He said national. That encompasses of all area of Nigeria, all youths from Sokoto to Port Harcourt, from Calabar to Maiduguri. So I believe it is way beyond party lines, and I don't see a reason why the conference is going to low out PDP members, because I am a PDP member for a reason, and I have not joined APC for a reason. So as long as my reason is not been as long as I am not as long as I am not going to change my political party, I don't think this conference is going to change my mind.
And in talking about expectations, what do you expect from this National Youth Conference? Because it looks quite ambiguous. I mean, we're talking about the review of the National Youth policy, for instance, which has not amounted to anything yet. Following the 2019 to 2023 review, we don't know what that report is going to do to change the dynamics of the situation. But what do you, what sense do you get from what the president said? I mean, he didn't go into the details of when it is going to happen, what the parameters are, what the objectives are. I mean, he did say that he wants this youth conference to provoke a dialogue that will provoke issues and ideas that could amount to policies that would directly shape the future of the next generation. But what, in your view, is the objective of this, and what kind of ideas do you think the youths would bring to bear that the administration has not considered already?
There are a lot of things. For instance, I have been on different spaces, especially on digital media, on Twitter, now X. There are a lot of spaces that have been organized for youths to come out and, voice out, their feelings and their ideas they have towards policies that the government could bring forward for the betterment of the country. So I believe this is a good avenue for the youths to come forward to have a better policy to put in, for the government to put in a better policy. Yes.
And Doctor, just coming back to you on the 30-day project, how do you see this keen into what the administration is already doing? If you have to give a glass half full version of the analysis, where you're optimistic, where you're hopeful that this is a part of the solution, how do you see it being keyed into that? And also, just to point out the political side of the conversation, as a supporter of the PDP, and I reckon a member of the PDP also, will you be attending if you have an invitation to be a part of the 30-day confab?
Okay, if you also recall, initially I talked about my concerns about the philosophy behind the conference. So if the philosophy is political in nature, then I will have very serious problems with this conference. Political because, like Rufa'i said, this is not time for politics. Politics should not dominate the whole idea for organizing a very beautiful engagement session like this. This is time for governance. And since this is time for governance, the issue of national interest should be placed first before the issue of political party, who is PDP, who is APC. I want to believe that whosoever that is nominated as a delegate to attend this national conference should go there not as a member of his or her ethnic group, his or her religious group, or his or her political party group. They should go there as a Nigerian youth, just as the name implies.
Right.
It's a Nigerian youth conference.
Yeah. Just hold that thought for a minute. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment to hear the rest of the thoughts of Dr. Kwambuge, and of course Abduljabbar Rufa'i is also here with us. We're talking about the proposed National Youth Conference, one of the key takeaways from President Ahmed Tinubu's Independence Day speech. More on that in just a moment after the break. All right, welcome back to the program. You're still watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Here's a quick reminder that you can watch the show on the go by joining our Facebook and YouTube live stream. You can also do so by going over to our website, trusttv.com, so you don't miss out on any of the conversation. Speaking of the conversation, we're talking about the potential of the proposed National Youth Conference being a game changer. It is one particular thought that has divided opinions across party lines, across ideological lines, along philosophical lines, where many Nigerians are not particularly sure about the end result, because we've been here several times before. Some have even noted how several conferences, national conferences in the past, with a lot more substance, have failed to deliver the goods. Case in point, the 2014 confab, which today is gathering dust somewhere across many offices in our system today. So I have two young Nigerians who are lending their voices to the conversation. Dr. Victor Kwambuge and Abduljabbar Rufa'i have been dimensioning the issues from all angles. Just before the break there, you were trying to give your thoughts and connect the dots with regards to what this could help achieve. So just to allow you to continue your train of thought.
Thank you. So I was saying that the philosophy behind it, if it is political, then it's very unfortunate. But if it is about development, if it is about the youth, if it is about Nigeria, then it is a very good and a welcome development. Because any kind of engagement, you ask me if I will attend, of course, it's a yes. Because if I say no, it simply means that I am not even interested in the progress or the development of the country. Because if you are able to point out the problem to any kind of idea, or you point out a problem to maybe to any kind of a societal policy, you should be able to be ready to be part of the solution process. And this engagement actually provides a forum. But I hope, like I said, it's not going to be hijacked by primordial party politics, whereby the issue of political party, who is from this religion, who is from this region, who is from this ethnic group, is going to dominate the conversation. The conversation, I hope, is going to be about the critical issues. And like I said, I highlighted earlier on, what are the critical issues? Like I said, poverty issues, unemployment issue, and also the issue of our educational problems. When I say educational problems, I mean that today we see run an educational system that is not really in tune with changing times. You talked about the issue of digital space, whereby people are now connecting into maybe the digital technology. How many of the youth, talking about especially those that reside in the rural areas, how many of them can even connect to any kind of those digital gadgets to attend any kind of meetings? Assuming this Nigerian Youth Conference is going to be held digitally, how many youths can even have the technological sagacity to join those kind of forums? And the issue is because we have a situation whereby our educational system is not really in tune with addressing the critical issues that is coming, the revolution that science and technology is coming into it. I told you, as a graduate of political science, for example, what are those things that we study? We study about the Nigerian Civil War, we study about the history of this, the history of that, and these are things that, yes, you may say that you need to know the history before you know where you're going, but at the same time, to what extent are all these kind of ideas readily available to provide practical solutions to the myriads of problems we are having as a country? And the same with some other courses that we have in the educational system. So I hope that part of what the Nigerian Youth Conference is going to be addressing is the issue of the human capital deficiency gap that we have in the country, whereby we have graduates, we have master's holders or PhD holders that have little or no practical solutions to become valuable on a table where people are discussing ideas that can push the country forward. And we have so many of them like that in our universities, in our polytechnics. So I hope in terms of expectation, this conference will also be able to look into that. And this conference will also be able to look into the issue of participatory governance. Why do we have a system that only encourages only one set of people, only one set of demography to continue to exert their influence in our politics and governance in the country? Talking about those people that have ruled my grandfathers, that have ruled my father, and they are still ruling me. And these are the people that will want to continue to succeed themselves in power. So why do we have this kind of gap? When is the system going to open up to also allow for new intakes, fresh ideas and fresh blood that will also come?
Are you suggesting that our democratic process is rigged to sideline Nigerian youths? Because many would easily point out to the developments of the past 4 years, for instance, with the Age Reduction Act, for instance, that allowed young Nigerians to participate in the political process, which has always, pigeonholed them because they have not reached a certain age. Have we not moved on? Are we not making progress?
Okay, the big question is, if we have initiated policies that allows young Nigerians to participate, I will also ask a question. How many of those young Nigerians are financially buoyant enough to buy a presidential form for 100 million naira? How many of those young Nigerians are buoyant enough to pick a nomination form of 20 million naira, 10 million naira? How many of them are buoyant enough to even raise the financial wherewithal to be able to have a financial war chest that they can campaign or canvass for votes in their respective states or in their respective regions? So you can see that it is a matter, it is a case of the hand of Esau but voice of Jacob. We are saying one thing with one voice, but in another another breath we are saying something completely different. So I wish there is going to be political will to enforce some of those beautiful ideas that you're talking about, to ensure that, truly speaking, the youth become stakeholders in this business of politics and governance rather than passive passengers. As it is now, we are just passengers. Passengers because we only become useful during electioneering period, whereby they can bring myself and my friend Rufa'i for us to make all sort of, but when it is time for actual governance, we are completely nowhere to be found. So if we say the Nigerian Youth Conference or the National Youth Conference, I don't know the right nomenclature anyway, but if that conference is aimed at breaching this kind of gap, then I will be very happy and I will celebrate the whole intent behind the conference. But if it is about politics, if it is about maybe a way of headhunting for the best brains among the youth, then the effort will be tantamount to shooting a mosquito with a gun, which is a waste of bullets.
Okay. Sometimes, you're not trying to kill the mosquito. Maybe you're just trying to let off some of the anger out there. But point taken. Right, let's talk about the institutionalization of certain platforms that are supposed to engender the growth and development of specific people in the society. And in Nigeria, we have the National Youth Council, for instance, and it's at its core mandate is to promote the interests of young Nigerians, right? Where do you stand on platforms like these, who have been given the opportunity to really dimension the issues, prefer solutions? I mean, they've been having series of events over the past couple of days, but they're usually in the shadows for such a very long time. And these are some of the easy examples that the political elites or the much older generation point out to say, listen, when we were coming up, we didn't have all of these platforms. We had to fight for what we eventually got. I mean, it's quite evident that most of our national heroes were in the limelight at such an early age, some of them as young as 29, 28. Where do you stand on the institutionalization of some of these ideas? We have the National Youth Policy, but we also have the National Youth Council of Nigeria, for instance, that are supposed to be pushing some of this agenda to the forefront.
I don't think they are any useful. If you ask me, they are useless, because all they do is follow up politicians, give them awards, collect money. That's all they do. I saw one of those institutions you mentioned recently during the protest. They had two ideas towards the protest. At one front, they were supporting the protest, sending what to the opposition party. And another front, they are what? They are against the protest, protecting the ruling government. So all those kinds of institutions do, if you ask me, is, promote their personal interests. And you see them having leadership issues too. Instead of
those platforms have been personalized by people who are spearheading them?
Of course, I believe so. I really believe so.
And what can youth do to take some kind of responsibility? Because the much older generation always say that we're not taking responsibility for some of the gaps that currently exist, whether it's in politics, whether it's in government, whether it's in business, that this victim mentality is also playing a key role in holding young Nigerians back. What can young Nigerians do to take responsibility for not just their future, but also for their current predicament when we talk about unemployment, insecurity, and all of the things that we know have become structurally a part of the problem?
I think it all comes down to the issue of legitimacy, legitimacy of the institution in the first place. Who gave you the position of, say, the president of National Youth? How did you become the president? Who voted you in? Who delegated you? You can't just open up an institution or an organization and say you are a president of National Youth speaking out for youth. Which youth are you speaking out to? So it all comes down to, getting a program where that in such a way that there can be delegates that really speak out for youth with objectives, with motions and visions to, address issues of the youth.
And Doctor, in talking about putting eggs in baskets, I've seen this development spark a huge interest across Nigeria, where youth are saying this is quite commendable, they hope to be a part of it. As someone who has organized events where youths have to come out en masse to be a part of it, what do you reckon should be the scale of the mobilization? Are we talking about, thousands of youths coming in there, taking part in this engagement? What do you think is the best way for the government to approach this engagement?
Okay, I think I mentioned something about delegates earlier on. So I expect that there is going to...
One per state, per local government, per ward?
No, instead of looking at it or approaching it from the state or regional point of view, I think it is better to address it from the interest group's point of view. We have so many demography of youths in Nigeria. If you look at it from the state or the regional level, you can also look at it from the interest groups. We have religious groups. And it is very important for the organizers to understand that a vast majority of our young people actually reside in the rural areas, most especially. I don't know the kind of strategy they intend to employ to ensure that the people, the voices in the rural areas are also heard. I don't also know the kind of strategy they want to employ to ensure that diversity management is well mainstreamed in this whole idea of this conference. What do I mean by diversity? We have a good percentage of young people that are not literate. A good numbers of them did not have the opportunity to go to the university or to go to the polytechnic, yet they constitute a good number of our youthful demography. So I don't know what plans they have for such kind of a people to be mainstreamed into this conversation and for them to be heard and for them to also understand what they are also discussing in this whole discussion.
Should Abuja be the epicenter of this conversation?
Symbolically, yes, because any part of the country you pick aside Abuja will be subjected to different kinds of interpretation.
Some have talked about decentralizing the engagements. Let each state have some sort of resolution after the engagement, a communique, so that the voices are then, or the different outcomes are then pulled together and then discussed at the national level.
Logistically speaking, that would make a lot of sense. But in terms of achieving one of the intent of the conference, I want to believe one of the objectives that the conference intends to achieve is to foster unity between and among the different parts of the country. So if you say I remain in my state, he remains in the state, you remain in your state, then where is that going to be the crossbreeding of different ideas and different culture? Because by the end of that conference, it is expected that the youth should be able to understand the challenges that another youth in another part of the country is facing. So they should be able to crossbreed their ideas. You bring your idea, I bring my idea, and we crossbreed. At the end of the day, we make new friends. At the end of the day, we have another platform, plus the National Youth Service Scheme that also provide an opportunity for people to mingle and to cohabit. Mind you, one of the major problems we have as far as our development is concerned is lack of unity. We are not united in so many fronts. We are not united because our religious groups have divided us, our ethnic groups have divided us, and even our social groups have divided us. So if the organizers of this conference are also looking at it from the angle that this is also another opportunity for us to foster unity between and among the Nigerian youth, then the issue of decentralizing it for the conference to take place in regions is definitely going to defeat this very noble objective. But like I said, logistically speaking, maybe because I can imagine mobilizing different kinds of people from all over the 36 states of the Federation to bring them to the FCT. I can imagine the huge budget that is going to come up with and what have you.
Can we afford this? Should we be spending our money on such what is clearly going to be an expensive endeavor? I mean, you talk about the accommodation alone. If the government has to foot the bill for hundreds, if not thousands of youths from across the country for 30 days. I can only imagine what the budget is, given everything that is this something that we can afford at this time?
Yeah, I believe it's something that Nigeria can afford, and it's something that is worth it. Because geographically, Abuja is the center. So every state, people coming from every state of the Federation makes a lot of sense for us to all meet in Abuja to, discuss the issues. And all these political parties meet mostly in Abuja for their congresses, for their primary elections, and even more. Parties
sell forms. They are run by,
but
basically.
But the federal government has more money than the parties.
Yeah, can we afford it? Is on a priority list, because that's what people are saying. On the priority list, there are much bigger issues that demand, resources to be injected, whether it's in education, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in, all the other sectors that are requiring these funds that are quite meager. Do you think we can afford to spare?
Yeah, when it speaks to our unity, it is our unity, like he said, is very, very important, and this goes a long way to promote the unity of Nigerians. So I still stand on my word that it is still worth it.
Yes. Okay, as just a final takeaway, you say as a member of the PDP, you're not reluctant about attending, same as Dr. Kwambuge, but there are others on the other various platforms who say, listen, we're not even going to partake in this because we know how it's going to end. What's your word to them in terms of whether they should reconsider being a part of this so that they can also, add their voice to this platform that is clearly, according to the president, going to give the youths a chance to shape their own future? Yeah,
to start with, I don't believe this is a political move or political gesture. So, and we are not talking about politics here, we are talking about governance. So I believe every member of every political party, from every ethnic group, from every state or senatorial district should partake in this conference, because it is our problems we are going to voice out to the federal government.
And Doctor, in 30 seconds, what could go wrong with this conference in your view?
Okay, George Orwell said something in his book that when people decide to join their oppressors in rigging elections, manipulating elections, at the end of the day they cannot call themselves victims, but they can only call themselves accomplices. I want to believe this is an opportunity for us to right the wrongs. I want to believe this is an opportunity for the youth to be heard. When Chinua Achebe said that we have lost the 20th century, are we bent on seeing that our children too lose the 21st century? God forbid. This is the 21st century, and now this is an opportunity for the youth to come to the party, for them to be heard, for them to air out their grievances, and I believe, I hope, I pray that their voices are going to be listened to and practical solutions are going to be implemented. There is a trust deficit. So many people, just like you said, there are so many voices that do not trust the whole idea behind this conference. Maybe because even the NSAS protest that was organized in 2020. There was a committee set up. Today, we do not know where we stand on the implementation.
Right.
The End Bad Governance protest, I don't know where we are. So I hope that this one is going to change the whole narrative.
And hope is something in quite a short supply right now in Nigeria, because people seem to be losing it by the second. Gentlemen, thank you most kindly for joining the conversation. I really do appreciate you for adding your voice to this all-important conversation. Abduljabbar, Rufa'i, and Dr. Victor Kwambuge, thank you so much for joining us on Daily.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Right. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Feel free to be a part of it next time. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m. For now, follow us across our social media platforms just to stay in touch. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. From myself and the rest of the team, good night.